I think counseling was very important to us. After the storm, a GoFundMe was set up for us, and so we were able to use a lot of that money to just help us rebuild and to buy the things that we needed. So we wanted to try to do things for these families that people did for us.
Today, we're sitting here with a woman whose life was changed forever. Back in 2020, when a horrible tornado hit our town and they lost one of their daughters. They've gone through some deep grief, but have also grown in their faith. And they have taken something so hard and something so heavy and turned it into something so beautiful. And today I have Macy Collins with us here to share the story of their family. And this podcast is called The Ordinary Brave, and they have definitely been brave throughout this whole situation. And I am delighted for you to hear their story and their journey. Well, Macy, thank you for being here and being a part of the podcast.
Yes, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Well, if you don't mind to just tell us a little bit just about you personally, your background, maybe how long you've lived here, or what brought you here, unless you've been here your whole life.
Okay. So I'm originally from Mount Juliet, Tennessee. My husband, Matt, and I were both from Mount Juliet. And we've known each other the majority of our lives. We grew up going to church together. And then we both went to Freed-Hardeman University for college. And
where is that?
That is in Henderson, Tennessee. That's West Tennessee.
Okay.
Just a little past Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
So after we got finished at school, Matt, he was a youth minister, and so we moved to the Hendersonville area, and he worked at a church there for a couple of years, and then in 2015 we moved to Cookeville, and we moved for his job. He took a youth ministry position at another church, and so we moved up here in 2015, and that's what brought us here. I am formerly a teacher. I taught third grade, and now I stay home with our girls, and we homeschool, and it's been great.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have the privilege of getting to know your family this year as we're homeschooling together with Classical Conversations, and I know you're sweet Lainey from being in there, but would you mind to share a little bit about Hattie and just tell us about her and just her personality and special memories that you have with her?
Yeah, thank you for asking about her. She was your textbook first child girl. She was very obedient. We rarely ever had to get onto her for something that she had done. She was just full of goodness. She loved her family. And she just had a sweet little heart, and she loved to talk in silly voices. Mm-hmm. So she was silly, and she was sweet, and a good little girl. And one fun little thing about her, she loved to watch the baking championship on Food Network. Mm-hmm. So whenever we could find it on, we would watch just a little bit of it, and it was usually on right before bedtime. So she would get her favorite bedtime snack, which was a little cup of yogurt with the M&Ms on top that you poured in. And so we would sit and watch that, and she would eat her yogurt just a few minutes before bed. And a fun little memory about her that kind of goes along with her love of the baking shows. Because Matt was a youth minister, we would always have a Christmas party with our youth group kids. And so we would always do like a gingerbread house making contest. And so the kids, they would get into their little teams, and they would make their houses in a certain amount of time. And so Hattie and two of her little buddies, they got their own little team. And so they were making their house, and she thought that she was on the championship baking show on the Food Network. And when somebody called out that there was, 5 minutes left, you could see it in her face. She was thinking, okay, this is it. Yeah. We've got to do it.
Love it.
That was a funny little thing about her. But she was full of goodness, and and love. She hated to say goodbye to our family. She loved to be with them. And she had a wonderful memory. She memorized so many Bible verses. And she was just good.
Yeah. Well, what a blessing. Well, I know that, I say I know, but I can't imagine all that you all went through and experienced at the loss of her. But I would love to hear how the Lord met you in your grief and what that experience was like.
So it's hard, when you see somebody who has gone through something that's awful, for a few seconds you think, oh, what if that was me? And then I think human nature, you kind of quickly say, nah, I'm not going to think about that because it hurts and
It's too hard.
It's too hard. You don't want to think about that. So losing a child is just as bad as you can imagine. So grief it's a tricky thing. It's different for everybody. Grief has been described to us kind of in a lot of different ways, but in two ways that kind of stuck with us. One is grief is like a box fan. So sometimes the fan is sitting on the table right in front of your face and it's taking your breath away. And sometimes the fan is across the room. You can still feel the wind of the fan, but it's not suffocating at that particular moment. And then another one that's kind of similar, but imagine if you're standing in the ocean and you can always feel the water around you. Sometimes it's calm, but you can still feel it. And then sometimes the waves are knocking you onto your knees. So that's kind of the way that that's pretty true for grief. Some days you can breathe, and some days you just can't. Kind of talking about how the Lord has met us in those hard times. On the night of the storm, when I was putting Hattie to bed, so every night we would lay down in her. I would lay down in her bed with her and read her a story, and we would sing our songs, and then she would go to sleep. So we did the same routine that night. I had laid down in her bed with her. We read our story, we sang our songs, and before she went to sleep, she said, "Mommy, I can see Jesus." And so that was like a shocking thing for her to say.
Sure.
Not that not shocking that she mentioned Jesus, but just that was out of the ordinary for her to say that at that time. And so I just turned and I looked at her and I said, "You can?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, what does he look like?" And she said, "He's in all white." And then she fell asleep. So I think that even before we were in grief, God knew that we would be. And so he gave us that moment to hold on to. So he was, that phrase, he met us in our grief, he was already there before we even knew it. So, and that has really been true throughout the entire experience. We could feel things or express things that we needed, And then, sure enough, those things would turn up in one way or the other. Things would turn up even when we didn't know we needed them. Um, so I think the Lord meets us because He's already there.
Mm.
Um, and He was already there before it ever even happened.
Well, I was just reading in scripture this morning about His steadfast love and His everlasting love. And He is such a good Father to us. And, I mean, what a gift, really,
Yes.
that He gave y'all in that. And I know that it doesn't make it easy, but I think, wow, God is so good to do that. Well, in the midst of your grief and just your journey through that, I guess it's been 5.5 years. How about your marriage? Like, how did you and Matt cling to each other, help each other through that? Could you walk us through any of that, or was there anything that could help another couple?
Yeah. Well, pretty soon after the storm, we have a really good friend who is a counselor, and so he was, and also right after the storm, COVID hit, and so that was tricky in a way, because like we couldn't go see a counselor in person, and just things are really odd, obviously, for everybody at that point. But that was one kind of little thing that was tricky. So we couldn't go somewhere to see somebody, but because we had a good friend that is a counselor, he was able to connect us with somebody that we were able to see online. And so I think counseling was very important to us. Something that you're not prepared for, and something of that magnitude, you need some guidance. And so if there is a family experiencing the loss of a child or the loss of anybody in family, I would say don't be afraid to seek out counseling, and don't be afraid to ask somebody to help you seek out counseling if you don't know what to do. But something that we learned in that process, and have learned along the way, is that it's okay that your spouse grieves differently than you do. And that's true for us. I mean, your spouse is your best friend, and you are like them, and it's easy to be with them and all of those wonderful things, but you're still very different people. And so that grief hits in different ways and at different times. And so things that would feel very hard for me would not feel, maybe not at that time, feel as hard for Matt, and vice versa. So I think,
so you could strengthen each other when you,
right,
at the time that you needed it.
Yes. So I think, all part of God's plan to put, two people together in marriage is that, when you face things like this, your personalities and who you are, you're able to help when the other person can't be of much help.
Well, just living here in the community, and I really didn't know you guys, at the time, but obviously your story and many others, in our town, stories were out there for us to hear and to pray for. And I saw your church rally around you guys, but I would love for you to share just maybe how the community came, or how your church came around and supported you.
Yeah, absolutely. We've said a lot of times, had it not been for our church here in Cookeville and our church where we grew up, how would we have made it? And we think about people who go through something like this who do not have a church family, and we think about how difficult it would be. Our church family, both here and our church family that we went to college with and where we grew up, just kind of all surrounding us. But those people, they fed us and they clothed us.
Because y'all truly lost everything.
Yes, ma'am. We lost literally everything we had. And so people would bring us food, and they would bring us clothes, and they would bring us a new Bible, and they were there in the hospital during those times, and they drove us to the hospital, and it's just amazing how God puts people in your life that you need.
Yeah.
And he did.
Well, I know you guys are loved and probably still feel that love and support. And, I mean, before I've even gotten to know you all with homeschooling, it was very apparent to me that this community loves you guys, especially your church.
Yeah.
And it's just the beautiful thing about God's people and the way they love on each other. And it's really, even as an outsider to watch it, it's inspiring, and also just challenges me in my own growth. Am I loving my own people like that? Am I, it was just really pretty, and to watch that picture, and, but I'm just so thankful that you guys had that.
Yes, me too.
Now, going through that experience, you guys have started a foundation in honor of Hattie to help other families. So tell me about that foundation. How did it even start?
So, after the storm, a GoFundMe was set up for us, and so we were able to use a lot of that money to just help us rebuild and to just buy the things that we needed. But we did want to save a portion of that money to do something with. So we used some of that money to start a scholarship at Tennessee Tech. And that scholarship is in Hattie's name. And we were so excited to do that, and glad that we could do that. And we're so happy that exists. And
does that scholarship help children or students maybe who've lost a loved one, or is that?
Thank you for asking. That scholarship is for the nursing program. Okay. So students who are pursuing nursing, they can have a chance to apply for that scholarship. So it's an endowment, and so it has continued to grow over the years, and so that means more and more students can receive it, and so that's been great. But just the nature of that, Matt and I, we can't have our hands in that, sure. Just because that's, functions through tech, and that's, they do that. And that's totally fine and understandable. But we were just looking for something more. And I know that any parent who loses a child, I'm sure they have that feeling of, what can we do to hang on? So, Matt and I had talked just a little bit, and so we tried to think of, okay, what did the people surrounding us do for us? And we thought, okay, can we do this for other people? And kind of like I mentioned earlier, families who don't have, they don't have a community surrounding them, and they don't have a church surrounding them. What do they do? Because a lot of people, they lose a child and nobody knows. So we wanted to try to do things for these families that people did for us. So we kind of looked into what the nonprofit world looks like a little bit. And we were able to meet with a lawyer here in Cookeville, and he was so good to help us get all of that kind of ironed out on the legal end. And so we thought, okay, we'll just give it a shot, and we'll see what happens. And we did, and it was bigger than we ever thought it would be.
Well, it's called the Magnolia Foundation. And so where does the name come from, Magnolia?
Yes. So before the storm, And it could have been 3 months before, it could have been the day before, I cannot remember, but nonetheless, I was driving around town, and I had Hattie and Lainey in the car with me, and as we were driving, we weren't talking about anything specific, but just kind of out of the blue, Hattie asked me, she said, "Mommy, do we have magnolia trees here?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, we do." I said, "I don't see one right now, but the next time I see one, I'll show you." And so I never got the chance to show her.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of fast forward, and on the day of her funeral, somebody had donated burial plots to our family after the storm, and we do not know who they are, and that's okay. But they had donated those to us because of course we didn't have any. So they donated those, and on the day of the funeral and the graveside service, we drove up for the first time with everybody else. We never went over there to look. We just went there for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Along with everybody else. And so as we drove up, right around the burial plots, there are 4 magnolia trees. So that's been something we have hung on to. And so the magnolia flower tree, that kind of, the whole thing it's like a symbol for Hattie. And I don't think that was an accident.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of, even going back to the Lord meeting us, he was already there.
Yeah.
To give us things to hang on to.
Yes.
So anyways, when we decided to do the nonprofit, we decided on the Magnolia Foundation.
I love that. And what a sweet picture to honor her. Now, you guys started this off, and I mean, I imagine it starting small, but I just recently attended one of y'all's fundraising dinners and was just blown away by what you all are doing across the state. Would you share that growth and what's going on and maybe needs that y'all have for your foundation?
Yeah, absolutely. So within our foundation, there are 3 big things that we try to do for families. So the first one is to help with funeral cost, or whether it be, a headstone or a cremation, something within that realm. We try to help with the cost for that. And then if a family or just one member of the family, the whole family, wants counseling, we will connect them with a counselor. If they already have a counselor, then we can help get that set up. And so we pay for, a certain amount, and the counselor, they can kind of decide how many sessions they're able to do with that amount. And then also commemorative care. And that is where we send gifts to families on the special days throughout the year, on birthdays, on the anniversary of loss, Mother's Day, Father's Day, the holidays. And that's really our favorite part of what we do. Somebody did that for us, and we didn't even know it. So those are kind of the big 3 things that we do. So when we first got started, we thought, okay, we'll just kind of see, and we were both still doing our jobs that we had even when we started it. And so we thought, okay, well, we'll just kind of see, maybe we can just do a little here and there. But as we got started, we realized that we were either going to have to just not do it at all, or we were going to have to it was going to have to be everything that we did. It was the number of families that we came into contact with. It was so much that we knew pretty soon that it was not going to be just like a little side thing that we did. So we started the foundation. It kind of officially launched in the fall of 2023. And then by January of 24, Matt had quit his job as youth minister, and we were all in. So in just a very short amount of time, we saw the huge need for something for families who lose children. And we have, we're in contact with all of the children's hospitals across the state of Tennessee, plus some other hospitals that have, children and women's programs within their hospital. But with every hospital that we have been to, we usually are in touch with the social workers. And so they are, they're all so glad when they feel like they have somewhere they can send their families.
Yeah.
And so many of them have expressed, if the child maybe does not pass away from some type of specific illness, if it's just a tragic accident or something like that, there's nothing for those families. So we saw just how quickly that this was a need. So fast forward to now, we've connected with over 500 families in 19 states. So it has gone a lot faster than we thought, but we're thankful that we've been able to reach that many people.
It's such an important ministry, and just what a blessing that you guys are stepping out to do that. And I know it also brings you joy because I think you're honoring Hattie, when you do that. How can people give and support your foundation?
So on our website, themagnoliafoundation.com, there is a tab up at the top that says give. And so one of our biggest needs is finances. It costs a lot of money to lose a child, and it costs a lot of money to help 500 families who are experiencing that. So if somebody asks, what's your biggest need? That's it. It's money to help these families. And we have been so blessed by so many people. We have never had to say no to a family, which is just amazing. People in this community, people across the country have been so generous to our work, and businesses have been just wonderful to support us. And we're so thankful to everybody because so far we haven't had to say no, and that's always the goal.
Well, we'll be sure to put that link on this podcast and share that where others can give. And I really enjoyed being at that fundraiser dinner and just hearing a little bit more of y'all's story, but just also about the ministry. I had no idea, like the numbers that you had just shared, that it had grown that much, and really just kind of baffling. When you have not experienced that, you just don't realize all the need that's out there. And I just love that you guys are meeting that need for people, not just in Tennessee, but in other places too. So, now you're years along in this grief journey. And what is something that you would tell people like me and others who have not experienced what you've experienced? Like, what could we do to support grieving families? What's the best thing that we could do?
Okay. Something that we have encountered is, you love to talk about your children, and you love to talk about the people that you love. And something that is easy to happen is when somebody loses a child or anybody in their family, you don't quite know what to say because you don't want to, maybe don't want to upset the person by bringing them up. But no one has ever said anything to us that has reminded us of Hattie, because we're already thinking of her. So
So maybe people shouldn't be afraid.
You shouldn't be afraid, right? And I know it's hard. It's hard. It is tricky, and that's just kind of the nature of it all. But something that somebody said to us that we have now been telling all of our families that we serve. She would always write in her notes, "You are loved. Hattie is loved." And it's so simple, but just the fact that she wrote her name, and she wasn't afraid to talk about her, means so much, because it's easy for the grieving person to feel like everyone has forgotten about whoever it may be. And so that can be hurtful. So if you know somebody that's grieving, from our experience, I would say it's okay to talk about them. It's okay to ask about a memory, or to mention their name, because that lets the person know that you also remember, and that's really important. We had just today, we had a friend of ours. She sent a screenshot of a message that she had with a family member, and that family member had they had lost I believe it was their child, but she just sent a screenshot of her saying, "We miss her, and we know you miss her, and we love you." And so then he responded and said, "Thank you, we love you too. Thanks for remembering," that kind of thing. And so she sent us a screenshot of that, and then she said, "Thanks for helping us know that it's okay to say something." And I know it can be hard to not want to say the wrong thing, but sometimes not saying anything can be just as could maybe be just as hurtful. But here's like a good thing that you can do. This is like step by step. So on Hattie's birthday every year, we go to Dollywood because she loved Dollywood, and so that's just what we do to celebrate her birthday. But while we were there, a friend of ours, he sent a message to us, and he said, "Tell me something about Hattie that I don't know, or tell me a memory about Hattie." And so that was so sweet, because then we had a reason to, okay, let's think of something good to tell about this person that we love so much. So just as simple as that, just sending a quick message to say, "Hey, what's something I don't know?" Or, "Can you share me one of your favorite memories about that person?" So it's important. I think it's important to, with people that are grieving, just let them know that you also have not forgotten about the person that they love so dearly. And it's okay to say their name, because that person is still very much lives on.
Well, speaking of remembering those that have been lost, do you have any special things that your family does? You mentioned Dollywood. You go there on her birthday. Is there anything else that your family does to just, whether it's weekly or just annually, or just little things that you all do to remember Hattie?
Yeah. So on her birthday, we go to Dollywood every year. That's something that she loved to do that. And we'll get balloons, and so our little girls, they love to let the balloons go on her birthday, and so we sing happy birthday to her. We have a cake, or some type of dessert, and so we sing as if she's just right there with us. And then on March the 3rd, the anniversary of her loss, the past couple of years we leave town and we go to the beach, and that is a lot of it's been a lot of fun, though. I mean, it's kind of strange to say, like, oh, that's a fun week that we had, but that same week is Arlene's birthday, and so it's kind of a big swing of emotions that week, where you go from one end to the other. And so on on that week, we have, the past couple of years, we have gone to the beach. That's a place that we love, and that's a place that she loved. And sometimes it helps to kind of remove yourself from the day to day.
Yeah.
And so that's something that we do. And of course, you know, we have pictures of her in our home, and we talk about her. And Davy, our youngest, she was born in 2021, so she never even met Hattie. But she talks about her like she knows her. So that's sweet.
It is very sweet.
And even sometimes the things that these sweet little girls will say, you know, sometimes it's, you wish that you could have their innocent little hearts in their minds, because they see it all so clearly. So we keep her alive here in our hearts. And that's what we do, because she's, you know, she'll never not be part of our family. So
Right.
we keep her a part of it.
Well, Macy, I really appreciate you coming and just opening your heart and sharing a story that's, I know it's not always easy to share, but I love just watching you even talk about Hattie, the way your eyes light up, and it's just really sweet to see. And I'm so thankful for what you and Matt are doing with your Magnolia Foundation. And I just want to encourage all of our listeners and the people watching out there just to support that organization, and remember to check the link and go and support them. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us today on the Ordinary Brave podcast. Sometimes bravery, it just looks different in many different stories and journeys. And sometimes it's taking something really hard and making something beautiful out of it. And sometimes it's reaching and serving those when they're in some of the darkest times of their lives. And so I just want to encourage everybody watching, listening to be that person for somebody out there as they might be experiencing loss. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. And if you will, as always, like and share our podcast so that we can encourage others.